is within those rules, you want to make sure the buyer can close if it gets cut. It's all contingent on bank approval. So buyers who need exorbitant closing costs paid for them are not good candidates for short sales.
You said you can only do 1%, right?
1% if the seller's loan is FHA and the buyer is also FHA, and 3% if the seller's loan is conventional and the buyer is anything but cash.
Go ahead.
Will this have an effect on any state monies that are granted to the potential buyer?
It should, no.
So that could be included in...
I know there's been if you forgive me because most of my work is with sellers, but I know there's been programs where a buyer gets a $16,000 credit.
Right.
I've done short sales where the buyers have gotten that before, so no, it has no effect. We're just talking about, you see, in a short sale, the bank's paying the closing costs, right? Reasonable closing costs. They're paying a 6% commission generally. They're paying me, hopefully, a reasonable fee. They're paying real estate taxes, municipal water and sewer. And they'll pay a reasonable seller assist under the circumstances. But remember, it's coming out of their pocket. That credit's not. The bank's not paying that. You also want to watch, this is an interesting one that came up the other day, you want to watch out for the home condition and the type of buyer. If you have a home that is missing a hole in the roof, or has a huge hole in the roof, or is missing the appliances, you really can't sell it to an FHA buyer unless you're doing a 203K, which presents other problems we talked about before the camera started. For an FHA loan, the home's going to have to be appraised by the buyer's mortgage company. They're not going to appraise it if the appliances are missing. Or if there's a hole in the roof, they're going to require it to be fixed. Who's going to fix it? Buyer's going to shell out that money before closing? Before the short sale's even approved? Seller's not going to. It's an as-is sale. So you would never want to exclude FHA buyers just when the house is in terrible disrepair. And most FHA buyers won't want them anyway. You're going to be dealing with cash investors usually if the house is in that bad condition. But again, I've seen that happen before where everything stops in the middle. Who's going to replace the appliances? Not my side. Important contract terms. I mentioned earlier to make sure my addendum is attached to the contract. And if you do, you don't have to worry about these additional contract provisions because they're already in there. These are a sampling of what I consider to be some of the most important terms that need to be applied when doing a short sale. Number one, I think that the contract has to be contingent on short sale approval with a 90-day window. I want 90 days to do the short sale. I don't want 60, it's not enough time. 90. I should ask for more, but I won't, because I don't want to scare buyers away, right? Buyer sees 120 days or longer, they might get scared and not sign the contract. I think 90 is a nice sweet spot. Most buyers will agree to 90, and let's say I'm not ready when that 90th day comes. Chances are I'm going to be pretty close. Close enough that I think I can string the buyer along for another 30 days until I get an answer. I'm almost certain I can get them to sign the addendum for the other 30 days. So 90 days is a nice window to have. I also prefer that the buyer do their home inspections before the short sale is approved. I'll say that again in another way. I want the buyer to spend $500 on a transaction that may never close. And the reason I want them to do that is because I've had hundreds of short sales where our side, meaning our listing agent, our seller, and my office, did everything perfectly. Everybody cooperated. The short sale was approved. Everybody's happy. Buyer does their home inspection, walks away from the transaction. It's happened so much that I have agents who will specifically not allow that to be changed. They're so strong on that provision that if the buyer or their attorney tries to take it out, they have me kill the deal and sell it to somebody else. I'm not as strict. I don't make any of these provisions deal breakers for people, but that is what is in my addendum. And if they want to change it, we would have to get the seller to agree to it, which of course I would approve of it. I also require, or in my addendum, the mortgage application to be done before the short sale approval. I'm not trying to bludgeon the buyer, right? I don't want them to do the home inspection, have the appraisal, but just fill out the application. At least start communication with your mortgage company. It's another huge problem in my office is we get the short sale approved. We have 30 or 45 days to close, and the buyer can't close in that time frame because they've done nothing. They've done nothing, right? So now they're going to apply for their mortgage, and their mortgage company thinks it's a joke. They think it's a joke. They're like, yeah, well, we're going to need 60 days. Get an extension. I can't get an extension from the short sale yet. I actually have to wait until like 3 days before our short sale approval expires, and then ask for the extension. I can't ask for it 30 days in advance. And a lot of times the buyer's mortgage company is still not ready to close, even after I get the extension. These are disasters. It jeopardizes the transaction. The buyer can't sit idly by and do nothing. They have to at least be in contact and do an application. Title insurance. You guys have an in-house title company here?
Yes.
Okay, take advantage of them, right? Title insurance is a very important part of short sales. As a selling side, we can never condition or force the use of our title company, right? It would violate RESPA and we'd all get in trouble. But I ask in my addendum, do you mind if I order title? You know, if I order title and it doesn't work out, your buyer will not be charged. Your buyer will not be charged. Let me order title so I can have it when I need it. The reason that's important is because a lot of times, without the title, I'm dependent on what the sellers tell me. Right? In my package, I ask, do you have any other mortgages? If they say no, and there is, and I find out after the short sale's approved, I have to start all over again. From square one. Everything's voided, I have to go back and get the first short sale approved again, and the second now approved. And so you'd be surprised, homeowners don't know that an equity line is a mortgage. Or they think that their bankruptcy took care of it. It doesn't. The lien still remains in the house. If they don't disclose these things, I'm never going to know about them. So it's extremely important that title ran as soon as possible. If they don't want to use our title company, which is fine, I require it within 2 weeks. What happens if you don't follow these rules, or you think they're too rigid? Maybe you think I'm crazy, right? That these are too strong. And again, I would be willing to change them if the buyer was going to kill the deal over it. But if the seller agrees to any of these changes, and let's say we do a 60-day minimum instead of 90, and they cancel on the 61st day, can't blame me, I want 90. We get the short sale approved, buyer does their home inspection and walks. Not my fault, I tried to change it. That's how it should be. Can't close on our short sale because the buyer did nothing with their mortgage application, it takes too long. Our short sale bank closes the file. Again, it's supposed to be the way I like it. No title's ordered up front. A second lien pops up before we go to closing, and I got to start all over again. Again, not my fault. This is the way short sales should be done. But like I said, if we have to change these to make the deal work, I'm willing to do that. The BPO, broker price opinion. Had I known I was being videotaped, I probably would have taken the emojis out of the presentation, but they're there. The BPO. At every short sale, the seller's mortgage company is doing evaluation. I touched on that earlier. Sometimes it's an appraisal, sometimes it's a BPO, sometimes it's both. That is generally the number the mortgage company is basing their approval or denial off of, not how much is owed on the loan. If the bank is doing an interior BPO or appraisal, meaning they're actually going into the property, and they'll call and ask for access, you have to be there. Go. Go. Go and bring the contract. Go and bring comps. If the house has damage, or let's say the house has a busted septic system, bring an estimate. Bring a contractor's estimate for any substantial damage. If that agent or appraisal will take it from you, that's going to help our file come in where it needs to be. Anything that supports the price at which we sold it at, you want to provide to this person. Now granted, not every time there's an interior done. Sometimes we'll just drive by the house and assign a value, and usually when that happens, like we said earlier, I'm fighting with them because they never went inside. But anytime they call and ask for access, you got to be there. You have to be there. And if you are, I promise you will increase our chance for success. I know investors who buy short sales. I don't deal with them. I won't accept their offers for my clients because of the trouble I've had before with them. But they insist on going to the BPO. They say, forget the agents, I'm going. Because they're professional investors and they know that they stand the best chance of success by going to it themselves. That's how important attending the BPO is. So I've gone over some helpful tips. I'd like to go over some common misconceptions now. These are things that I'll typically hear from agents and clients during the short sale process. The first misconception is that the bank would rather do a short sale than foreclose. I hear it all the time. Wouldn't the bank rather do a short sale? Why would the bank want to foreclose? Don't they lose money? The answer is not necessarily. Remember, a lot of these loans are insured. When they're insured, it doesn't matter. If it's insured, the bank's getting their money. Short sale, foreclosure, doesn't matter. As long as they follow the guidelines given to them by the person paying the insurance claim, they're getting paid. I've also seen situations where there's no oversight. There's not a department at Bank of America, that the shoulda department, where, oh, we should have accepted this short sale because we lost money in the foreclosure. We should have done this because we could have done that. There's no shoulda department. There's no oversight. I've had short sales, and I'm going to pick on Aquin Loan Servicing for a second, where the short sale was denied because the bank wanted $90,000 for the property. I fought the value, I had a comps, I had everything, and I lost. The bank stood by their $90,000 figure. It went to sheriff's sale. The buyer was smart enough to go to the sheriff's sale. He bought it for $50,000. Now the numbers I'm probably estimating may have been 60 and 100, but you get the point. Sold for substantially less. And my client called upset, and I had no explanation for them. There's nothing I can say to them. There's no oversight. This is what the banks and the servicing companies do. And to make things even scarier, something I'm seeing now, because I'm actually very much into investing, real estate investing in foreclosures myself, I'm seeing these mortgage servicing companies buy properties at sheriff sales. So what I'm seeing is a company who does short sales, going to a sheriff sale and buying other sheriff sales. So these mortgage servicing companies are flipping houses and building a portfolio of real estate. A lot of people think, oh, these mortgage companies aren't in real estate business. They're getting into it because they're flipping houses. And my concern is, if you take a company, who I'm going to make up, XYZ Servicing, if they're buying other servicing companies' foreclosures, what's to say they're not intentionally foiling theirs? I had a short sale recently where it was fully approved, we were going to closing, something happened to the buyer, didn't work out. My advice was to release the deposit, sell it as fast as possible, for the same exact amount, and let me try it again. 7 times out of 10 that's going to work. Same exact offer, less than a month away. The servicing company said no short sale. I said, but you guys just approved it at the same amount a month ago. Yeah, we don't want to do a short sale anymore, sorry. No explanation, other than the investor doesn't want to do one. Non-Fannie Mae, non-Freddie Mac, conventional loan, no rules. Did whatever they wanted. And short sale fell apart. And I had to explain to my client the best answer I could give him that the investor doesn't want to do a short sale, even though it's the same price we had last month. It's crazy.
So, I buy a house for $250,000, it's an FHA. It goes to foreclosure. The lender is then paid by the government,
The
basically.
Department of Housing, there's a fund with the Department of Housing and Urban Development that pays out claims.
And do they pay out the
Claims-
full $250,000?
It did not all, no, not all the time. There's claims and partial claims that are paid out. So remember, the bank does get money at a sheriff sale, right? It's usually the deficiency. I don't think the bank gets the whole. I don't know with 100% certainty, but I don't think the bank gets the whole loan amount. They're getting something from the sheriff sale.
But once they, let's say it doesn't sell at sheriff sale.
Then the bank takes it back and
Takes
becomes
it
an
back,
REO.
they put it on the market, right. So they're collecting money on the insurance at that point,
I
Because it
don't
went to
know.
foreclosure.
Unfortunately, I don't have
and
that
they're
kind of.
reselling the property?
I don't have the kind of internal knowledge with the Department of Housing. My guess, and this is a guess, this isn't a lawyer speaking, this is just a guess, is that no, they can't double dip with the government. There's got to be, they may not put the claim in until after the house is sold. Or maybe they do get paid in full and then they got to reimburse the government. Those I can't answer. But interesting question for sure. A common misconception too I have is that short sales are going away. I've been hearing it every year since 2008, that they're not going to last. And here we are in 2018 and they persist. I don't want to fool anybody, this chart is a year old, just so you know. I haven't been able to find an updated one. But it's from NewJersey.com, and it shows properties that are considered substantially underwater. The darker the area, the higher percentage of underwater properties. If you can see the county that we're in up there, I can't see it, it's too small on my computer. You get an idea. The darkest of all the counties, or a third of their properties are considered substantially underwater. That is bad. Yeah, I mean, it's surprising you see a lot of the counties closer to New York where property values are generally higher. Like Bergen County is pretty bad too. Things are so bad that I've done short sales more than once on the same property. So, in other words, you go out, you get a listing, I represent the seller, I get the short sale approved, the buyer's at the closing table, they're happy, everyone's taking pictures, I get a bottle of champagne from their agent, and then a year later the buyer's my client, short selling the house that they bought from my former client. And I've had it happen multiple times on multiple properties. That's how bad the market is sometimes. So when there's things like that, it's hard for the market to rebound. Not to mention, I see a substantial amount of homeowners who are current with their mortgage. Right? They don't want to do a short sale, but they're forced into it. They're forced into it because the property values aren't rebounding. So now they're going to intentionally default on their loan and try and do a short sale because they have to move and they have no other choice. So things like that keep short sales hanging around and basically becoming a permanent part of our New Jersey and Pennsylvania real estate markets. going back to pick on low offers again, and why I pick on them so much, is common misconception 3. I hear this a lot from our listing agents. Let's just accept the first lowball offer we get, just so we can see what the bank says. Let's see what the bank says. Let's get a number from them, right? If we get a number, then we can go resell it again. There are many things wrong with doing that. First thing's wrong is you're wasting everybody's time, including your own. Right? If our client's behind on their mortgage, they don't have forever. Right? They're against a foreclosure clock. Now, thankfully that clock takes a while, but do we want to waste 3 or 4 other months processing a short sale that's not going to get approved? Right? You're wasting their time signing that lowball offer. Second part to that is you want to get a number from the bank. That number is not guaranteed. A counteroffer is not a guaranteed number. You can't turn around and list that as a pre-approved short sale. It's a counteroffer. And remember the file I mentioned earlier where we got the same exact price and the bank just turned it down outright for no reason? That's proof. It's proof that the number you got on the prior short sale is not guaranteed in the future.
So what is a pre-approved short sale then?
In my opinion, there's really no such thing. Because buyers, short sale approval letters are specific to buyers. So if you go out and you list a short sale and we get it approved, and let's say Jim Smith is a buyer, that approval letter is generally going to be specific just for Jim Smith. Okay? If you go out and sell that as a pre-approved short sale, it's a lie, because it's not. What you should say is approved with another buyer at this amount. But it doesn't mean it's going to be guaranteed again. The closest thing you'll get to an actual pre-approved short sale would be, I guess, an FHA short sale, where you knew in advance the bank's appraised value. But again, you still don't know the actual approval amount. You know that the seller's okay to do a short sale, and you know how much the bank needs to net. But you don't know for sure whether the buyer's offer is going to work, unless you really do a mathematical calculation and include the title company to run actual numbers. So in my opinion, even though you see it all the time, there is no such thing as a pre-approved short sale. And I would always be skeptical if I had a buyer in that situation. Don't get me wrong. I think a buyer who walks into a short sale that's been worked on prior, from a buying standpoint, is better than a buyer who's walking into a short sale that's never been touched. Because at least, even though it's not pre-approved, you had some guidance. You can say to your buyer, look, it's not guaranteed. It was approved at $80,000 with another buyer, and while I can't guarantee yours is going to be approved, we stand a better chance than walking in cold. I think that's fair advice to say to your buyer. But we're talking about sellers today, so we'll continue with that.
We actually have an option in Paragon, approved short sale, yes or no.
Yeah, I mean, it's scary because it can't be. You know, and if you look at pick on Wells Fargo again, their website contains the common misconceptions just like mine. And one of their misconceptions is I need an offer before I start a short sale, before I can be approved for a short sale. And it says that it's false. It says you can be approved for a short sale without a buyer. How? Tell me how. How? You're going to get a letter from Wells Fargo that says, yeah, you're approved. For what? At what price? On what terms? None of this is finalized until there's a buyer and until their offer's approved.
So if we were to check that box that says approved short sale, it's technically illegal.
Can you put? I don't want to say it's illegal. I mean, it's not like we're committing crimes, but it's certainly untrue.
It's misleading.
It's misleading. I mean, is there notes in Paragon you can click pre-approved and then in the notes put not actually pre-approved, but approved with another buyer?
Yeah, but the agents don't do that. They just say, yes, it's pre-approved, bring your buyer.
Yeah, and you're going to see, and again, look, like I said, if I were an agent showing short sales to buyers, I'd be looking for those. Because again, I know something was worked on beforehand. And buyers who walk into a short sale that has been worked on with another buyer but failed stand a better chance for approval, in my opinion. And if I were a buyer of a short sale or an agent showing buyers, I'd be looking for those. But you have to, tell your clients, let the other agent be wrong, it's really not pre-approved. I mean, there's no guarantee your deal's going to go through. Is it possible to cut that off for a second?